Hello, this is Pyromaniarules, and I haven't done a video in a while, so I decided to finally get back to it. And this has been a request for, I don't know how long, from a friend of mine, Shiloh GNR Fan 07, or Fan 7, I can't remember. But he wanted me to do a history of Metallica. And I figured now is the best time. Well, they formed in 1981. There's only been really two members who've been there through the entire time, James Hetfield and Lars Ulrich. But by the time they made the very first album, they finally had gotten rid of a few members, most notably Dave Mustaine, who later on formed Megadeth. But they ended up replacing him with the founding member of Exodus, Kirk Hammett, which I always thought was really strange, because you leave the thrash band you form to go join another. Never made much sense. And they also had Cliff Burton, and they were going to name the album Metal Up Your Ass, and you can look up the picture, it's hilarious. It's just basically a toilet with a fucking dagger sticking up through it. But the record company wouldn't have it, so they named it Kill 'Em All. And it is now, and still is, one of the best thrash metal albums ever made. You know, they made their next album, which is my very favorite one from them, Ride the Lightning. You know, with the great songs like Fade to Black, of course. Now it's probably the big hit, but not my very favorite. But, you know, in a couple of next years they made their one that finally got them some attention in the heavy metal world, which is Master of Puppets, 1986. Of course it has Master of Puppets on there. And they were touring for it when they had a bus accident which had the horrible, devastating death of their bassist, Cliff Burton. And they found some 16-year-old fan, I'm not kidding, that really is, and then he ended up replacing him, which I never really understood that part. And all through the rest of the career with him as bass player, they treated him like shit. I'm not kidding, man. He left the band because he got tired of it. They're always joking, with putting practical jokes that aren't funny on him, making fun of him in front of the fucking audience, and doing all kinds of other shit, verbal abuse and all that other crap. So it's no wonder he left. But the next album they made was him, and Justice for All. Very political album for them. I was surprised when I first got it. I was surprised by how political it was. And it has the song One, which is probably the biggest hit from it. And it led to them going to the fucking Grammys and somehow losing to Jethro Tull. I'm not saying shit against Jethro Tull, I like them, but it wasn't their greatest thing. Unlike for Metallica, it was actually one of their greatest things. And so, for some reason they decided to start leaving the sound of thrash, which makes absolutely no sense to me, because they were one of the very first, and they were one of the, and if you know thrash metal, you know they hate people selling out. They hate posers, but then they go and start becoming the thing they hate the most with their self-titled The Black Album, Metallica. And if, you know, with the song Enter Sandman. And then from then, it just for me personally, it went downhill. because, well, their next album, it kind of fit the name. Load. Right, like 96 or something like that, because it was a load of shit. And I know I'm going to get a bunch of crap because, but I really, personally, do not like it. And then Reload next year. The only thing people ever liked about those the most was their cover of the Bob Seger classic Turn the Page. Then I think they released some like Garage Incorporated, which was just a bunch of random songs through the years they hadn't put on any album yet. And then they released the one thing that they did in the 90s that I really, really approved of. S&M, which was, they worked with an orchestra to play all their great big hits for at that point. Because they were playing it with a fucking orchestra, symphony, whatever you want to call it, in the background. That I really enjoyed. Because technically heavy metal and classical music do go together. If any type of music is closest to classical, it's heavy metal. If you want proof, watch the Tenacious D movie with their song Classica, because it takes basically the biggest part of a Mozart classic song. Let's see, what else did they do? I can't remember all of it. They did some stupid shit. Oh yeah, they did. Next thing they did was in 2000s. Probably one of the worst things they could have ever done. And that was make an album with absolutely no guitar solos. And I'm talking about Saint Anger. That one really... I mean, they're fans that put up with their stuff from the 90s. Once they got to there, they were like, what the fuck? And so they... I think that's when they finally thought, hey, people don't like bullshit. And so they tried to return back to the thrash sound with the next album. Crap. Wow, this shouldn't be that hard to remember. Okay, fuck it. 2008. All Nightmare Long. Fuck. Okay, I'll remember it later. But it was... a lot of people liked it. It was their... supposed to be the beginning of their return, but it wasn't really. Because for some reason... they had to make, and this happened in 2011, they had to make Lulu with the legendary Lou Reed of the Velvet Underground. I never really blamed him for how terrible the album was, because Lou Reed made some of the greatest stuff of all time. Believe me. I blame Metallica for that. Because I don't know what the hell they were thinking. And for some reason they wanted to blame it on the horrible record sales of that on, I think, piracy or some stupid shit like that. But, really, it was because the album was horrible. And it didn't help that the very same day it came out, Megadeth's latest album, 13, came out. Because everybody knows they had a huge feud, but it's been over because they toured with the rest of the Big Four. And what didn't help was people were like, oh yeah, Metallica's better than Megadeth, and they come and listen to Lulu and they're like, well, what the fuck is Megadeth doing? Oh, they're doing an actual thrash metal album. Unlike what was supposed to be a thrash metal band, Metallica. You know, that was one of the worst things they could have done. And then, for some reason, they came out with some EP. Oh, Death Magnetic was that album name. Some EP Beyond Magnetic with some 4 actually decent songs. And now they're saying we're going to come out with a new album that's going to be like it's going to be returning to the sound of the Black Album that they did in the 90s with Enter Sandman. That's already got the fans pissed off before it even comes out because they don't want that sound. They want the thrash metal of Master and Puppets. That's what they want to hear. When you think about it, they really have lost their way. And it saddens me and a lot of the other fans, because seriously, they're much better than what they are at the moment. But until next time, this is Pyromaniarules. And also, don't bitch about my opinions because they're my opinions, okay? Just deal with it. If you want to discuss, discuss. If you just want to bitch about it, I don't even give a fuck. You can do it, I don't care. So, bye.